Welcome all my lovely peeps. Today I've got a lovely class for those of you that suffer with weak hips, and in particular it's actually most probably weak bums. Weak bums, you might have tight hips, so that you might get a lot of pain in the hips, so we are going to have a little stretch with that as well. But the hips, the glutes are like the powerhouse, and because we sit a lot, quite often and not, people have weak glutes, and that can affect everything around the hips. So we're going to focus on getting those bums ready for G-strings for the summer. Definitely not me. And then we're also going to focus, on strengthening these hips here, plus a nice little stretch. And when I say nice, I don't mean that nice. I mean, yeah, a good one, but it may not be that comfortable. So we're going to start on the back. Our mat seems to be going everywhere. So for me personally, and for a lot of our clients, let me just show myself down. I will take time to explain this, because I know there can be a lot of controversy in the Pilates industry. Now, when you have your head on the floor, for most people, you can see how my lower back is lifting a little bit. And to try and imprint the lower back for some people can be very challenging, because the back might be quite tight or quite stiff. So just having a block under the head helps that lower back to stay down. So for us, for our clients, we encourage using a block because it just supports the lower back. Now, if you're lying there and you hate this block under your head, by all means take it away. So you can do what's right for your body. Now we're going to start with something called knee folds, and this is going to strengthen these muscles in the front of the legs. So we're going to focus on strengthening, and then stretching. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is just take a breath in. And then as you exhale, you're going to draw all these abdominals and try and imprint your lower back. Now be mindful that when you imprint, you haven't pushed with your feet. So you should be able to get your feet off of the floor, cramping that toe. So what I say to people is you want a pelvis is heavy, but your feet are light. Almost like you've got a little ladybird walking underneath your feet. So you should feel this pull around your waist, okay? So we want to keep that lower back imprinted. Now from here, just going to move my feet a little further away from my bum. You're going to float one leg up towards this hip over here. Now if your feet, I'm going to exaggerate it, if your feet are really close to the bum, I want you to watch how much my thigh bone travels. Can you see there isn't much movement with the thigh bone? So actually we're not getting that much work through the leg. So if you take your feet a little further, now your thigh bone has a lot further to travel, so it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Now when one leg is up, just check that you haven't pushed into your left foot or whichever foot you got on the floor. That still wants to be nice and soft. You should still feel this activity going on around here. Now I always encourage people, put your hands on your hips so that you can feel what's going on, and we're just going to keep working through these. So I'm going to exaggerate what might be happening or what you're trying to avoid. So if you've got no weight and you haven't stabilized, your lower back will be off, but you might also get this rocking of the hips, which we're trying to avoid. You might also get your hips tilted. It's hard to do it wrong. So what you are focusing on is imprinting the lower back to stabilize the hips. We don't want the pelvis moving. And then as the leg floats up, the pelvis stays in the same place, and then you bring it back down again. Now what we are doing here is freeing up, number one, freeing up inside the joint, but also it's the hip flexors that are pulling the leg up. So we're strengthening the hip flexors here. So the whole time you're thinking of feet are nice and light, you are hugging in your abdominals to keep your back glued to the floor. And then make sure that your rib cage is not popping. Again, this is why we like to have a block under the head. It just helps this lower back to stay down. Because a lot of our clients, they might have or a lot of our clients are much older, but you might be sitting at a desk all day and your back is tight, and so for you, you might not be able to even get your back to touch the floor. That can be quite common as well, which is why a block under the head just supports that back. Good. So we're just going to do one more. So if you're not feeling this, then all the weight is in your feet, not in this part of the hips and the back. Good. And then once that leg comes down, relax. So people always say to me, oh, this is just as hard as when I started 10 years ago. It's like, it never gets easier. Your technique just gets better. So there's never a time when you are too strong for Pilates. Good. So now we're going to come into what's called double knee folds. Now, if you found the first one super challenging and you were huffing and puffing, you're going to stick with that one. For those that want to go a little bit more challenging, we're going to do 2 legs. Okay. So again, listen to your body. This is not about, if you can do it all or not. This is about, being with your body. So imprint your lower back. Same as how we've just started. The feet are light, so think of a little ladybird underneath your feet. The tummy's pulling in. Float the left leg up. Now, I want you to notice your head on the block. So as you start to float the right leg up, I'm going to exaggerate it. If I'm not heavy in the pelvis and my feet are in there, when I lift up, if you watch my head, I'm going to try, you're going to get like a shifting. You want to avoid that. So the back's holding you down. The hips are holding you down. So when you float the leg up, the head's completely still. Now, if you do come into your tabletop legs, and this, you can feel your back's lifting. You either work harder to keep it down, or maybe just bring those knees in a little closer to the chest. Float your left foot back down. When it touches the floor, keep it soft, 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 soft. And then right leg comes down. Take a breath in, keep that back nice and down. Right leg comes up this time. Hold it there. Inhale. And then, oh, can you hear my tummy rumbling? Now, when you come up, just check your shoulders, your eyebrows. Often there's a lot of tension around the neck. We really want this part of the body to relax. All the effort is happening around here. Cramping my toes. Float your right leg down. So pull it in. Pull, 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 pull. Maybe you can't hear it. And then bring that back down again. Well done. So bring the knees into the chest. Lovely. My tummy was rumbling, just in case you were wondering if you couldn't hear it. Right, so now for this one, we definitely want to take the block out from underneath your head. Now, you can use a little cushion if you want to, because it's soft, but you don't want anything hard under the head. And your feet and your knees will be hip width apart, and the hands are down to the side. Just check that your chin hasn't gone up behind there. So we want to pull that chin towards the throat a little bit. Take a deep breath in. On your exhale, you're going to roll your hip bones towards the rib cage. So imprint your lower back, but make sure that you're not pushing with your feet. This is happening with the abdominals. And then I'm just going to move this hand out the way. Now start to lift your hips off of the floor. And I want you to visualize your spine. So one vertebra at a time as you come up. Now in an ideal world, we want your knees, hips, and shoulders in one line. But you might be down there for whatever reason. Maybe you've had sciatica, or maybe you've had a broken hip. Who knows what's going on? But I just want you to focus on your glute. Just squeeze your hips up. So what people tend to do when they want to get the hips higher, they push into the head. So I want you to relax your head, relax your shoulders, and think of your bums pushing your hips up. Now, once you're at the top, if you can, I appreciate some people have got big boobs, are your two hip bones on the same line? So I'm going to exaggerate it. One hip isn't dropping. Okay, that could be because there's a weakness in one side, or just you haven't noticed it. And then breath in. And then as you exhale, now I want you to keep squeezing your hips up, but pull your spine down. So hips up, spine down, hips up, spine down. Once you come back to neutral, relax, have a little shake. So just a quick one. So when people are there, if you have scoliosis or you have a leg length discrepancy, that might also cause that hip to drop. Just putting that out there. Right, so breath in, off we go again. Exhale, squeeze your bum, see if you can lift each vertebra on its own up towards the ceiling. Once you're there, hold it and then just check. Make sure the hips feel even, so you can even use your hands. Your bum cheeks are doing the work. I just noticed my foot. I'm like, is it turning out? And then on the exhale, push your hips up, but bring your spine down. So hips up. So it's two opposite directions that we're traveling. Hips are still pushing up. Squeeze your bum, squeeze your bum, squeeze your bum, but squeeze the tummy down, squeeze the tummy down. Lower back comes down and then release. Give your knees a little hug. Good. So this can get quite crampy in the hamstrings, like a lot of clients will cramp in the back of the legs. Right, we're going to do one more. So breath in. On the exhale, hug the abdominals in. Give your bum a squeeze, send your hips up towards the ceiling. This is one of my favorite Pilates exercises. Just gets so much. Stretches your back, builds strength here, stretches the front of the legs, mobilizes your spine. And then on the exhale, hug the abdominals in, relax in the shoulders. Make sure your chin is not moving, it's staying low. It's going to help to stretch off the neck. And then once you're down, give your knees a little hug. I like to take a bit of a butterfly just to stretch these hamstrings off here. So we're going to build slightly onto that. So we're going to get into the bums a little bit more, but also the sacroiliac joint, which is just above the coccyx. You've got this chunky part here. And we're going to just focus, that is a joint. It can move, well, it should move, but it's a very tiny movement. It's not a huge movement. So we're just going to focus on that a little bit, but also working the glutes separately. So breath in. On the exhale, roll your hip bones towards the rib cage. Squeeze your bum and send your hips up towards the ceiling. Now, what I want you to do is just have your hands on your hips, okay? So all I want you to do, I'll do the left side first, is don't drop your right side. I want you to see if you can push the left hip higher. And then you're going to bring the left hip back in alignment. Now can you squeeze your right bum cheek? And then bring it back into alignment. So we're trying to squeeze one side higher, bring it back. Other side higher, bring it back. So what we're trying not to do is tilt the pelvis. So we're not rocking it into that. If you take a block over here maybe. So if you notice where this, I'm going to try and go a little higher. Notice where that hip is. So when I try and work there, I'm just trying to lift that hip. And notice that one hasn't dropped. And then bring it down. And then lift that hip. And bring it down. So holding it there. Squeeze the left bum. Make sure the right hip stays in exactly the same place. Bring the left hip back to the starting position and then right hip. Now I can feel when I lift the right hip, the left one does drop. So kind of need to squeeze that left one a little bit more. Check to make sure there's no weight in your shoulders. Last one on the right side. Oh, that one is hard. And then come back to the center. Breathe in. Whew. So don't worry if you didn't get that one particularly well for the first time. It does take a while. This is what Pilates is. It used to be called contrology. Can your mind control different aspects of your body? So don't worry, it might have felt a bit weird for the first time, but as you work through the videos, I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to practice a bit more. Right, so we're going to come into front lying now and stretch off the front of the body. So we were still doing that in that part, but this is going to be a little bit more of a nicer stretch. So have your legs together and you are going to have your hands under your head. Now, because I've got a microphone, I don't want to muffle too much, so I'm actually going to put a block under my head as well, just so that you can hear me. So, head is on the hands, have your legs together, and relax your shoulders. So pull the belly button in, send your pubic bone down, and reach your legs away, and see if you can bring the legs off the floor. Now, for some people, you might not be able to, so just try and lighten the legs. Think of maybe you're just trying to get the flesh off of the floor, or you're just trying to lift your bones slightly. Now, from here, bring one foot to your bum, take it back, and bring the other leg in. Take it back, and just carry on. And if you can see the camera, what you're trying to avoid is when your leg comes in, there's no rock, or for some people, it might be a lift of the bum. It's very hard to do it if your hips are not tight. So what you want to focus on is really trying to push these two hip bones into the mat as much as you can. So you don't want the hips popping up and down or moving left and right. Now, if your hips are tight, if you've got muscles that are tight around your hips, it's going to happen. But you're trying to avoid it, so keep squeezing it down. And then relax down. So give your bums a little wiggle. This time, now we're going to come up with the elbows directly under the shoulders. If your pelvis is coming off of the floor, sometimes people have got really long arm bones and the pelvis is coming off the floor, just bring your arms slightly more forward or slightly wider. Okay, so you want to make sure that the belly button's down. So from here, legs stay together. Now what you'll find is if you are tight, your legs will want to open up. The brain's trying to make that a bit more comfortable for you. So try and keep those legs together and push the floor away so there's no sagging in the shoulders. Tummy pulls in, pubic bone imprints, lift the legs. Now you might find you can't even lift the legs on this one. That's fine. Just relax, allow the bones to come off of the mat. The movement's exactly the same. So you're trying not to move anything. You might get the head popping down. You might get the shaking in the body, anything like that. You are trying to isolate that movement. It's only coming from the knee joint. The bum is stabilizing the pelvis, and your hip flexors are getting a big stretch in this position. Good. And one more. Oh, cramp in the foot, and then relax down. Marvelous. So we're going to come on to the back. I do often like to do a child pose, but if you just had a hip replacement, then they're not the best things for you. So come onto your back. If you've had a hip replacement, you're not going to take your knees in. You're just going to keep your knees there. You can have a little rock from side to side. You can do these little circles. And if you haven't had a hip replacement, then you can make those circles a little bit bigger just to massage the back. So how does your bum and your back feel? So I will link some more videos for you that are for bums and backs and hips. And then if you like this video, please don't forget to like, please comment. It's nice to hear from you all, and subscribe so that YouTube will push this video out to other people. Good. It is much appreciated. And then come onto your side, push yourself up, take a deep breath in. And well done. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the mat soon. Take care, lovelies. Bye.